I will be the one taking you down into the Great Masson Cavern today. Now, I say sadly because more people get lost on my tours than with any other member of the cave team. But that might not be a bad thing. If you've got anyone with you that you want to get rid of, just give me a fiver. I'll drop them down the nearest mine shaft for you. Okay? So first of all, we've got the most exciting part of the entire tour, and that is the safety briefing. Now, we are going down into a cave environment at the end of the day, so there will be some wet, slippery and uneven floors down there. We do provide you with handrails though, wherever you might need to use them, and as long as you're not wearing high heel stilettos, there isn't much of a chance that you'll fall prey to natural selection, so I don't think that we need to be worried there. Speaking of natural selection though, if you happen to be over 5 feet tall, trust me when I say that you'll need to mind your noggin when we're going through the tunnels, because there are a few low-hanging rocks in places. It's also going to be a little bit cold down there. It's about 6 or 7 degrees all year round, but on a day like this that won't be a shock to your system. The main thing that I need to make sure that you're all aware of is the number of steps. There are 175 steps on this tour, but I don't want any of you to worry because 16 of them go down, and that leaves only 159 steps which go up. No hard work at all, I'm sure you'll agree. Those steps aren't even in one go either, they are split up into 3 different sections, and we've got some chains down there, so it's not constant hard work. But just be aware that it might not be for you if you've got any heart, breathing or mobility issues. There is a cinema up there in the High Falls building that plays a virtual version of the tour, so if you don't like the idea of going down a cold rock hole in the ground with a raving lunatic, you can sit down in the cinema, the hot room to get all the highlights there instead. Or you can come down as far as the first chamber that we're stopping in, and then after that first bit, if you don't want to see anymore.
So, pasok na kami ng ayan. Ano talaga na ako may torch no? Ako sa slack. Ako man. Anong torch? Dulong no? Hindi mo gano'n. May masuga mo ba? Kabalo lang po. So, ingat kayo sa sa mga falling debris sa taas o kaya mga falling stone o kaya mga falling rock. Delikado. Buti nilagyan nila to. Delikado talaga. Parang bato naman siya so far, no? Delikado. Maglagay tayo ng bullet para helmet. Helmet.
That's a boom, my hat and gloves.
Looks like scary.
Oh my goodness, it's gone.
Pasok tayo. Yung pinakamaganda na ating adventure. Oh my god. Oh my god. Medyo ano.
Guys, just hold the handrail. You know where you're going.
Ito yung totoong kuweba talaga, no? Pasensya ng mga tropa kasi madilim.
So just make room for the last couple of people to get in, alright? So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me welcome you to the first chamber of the Great Masson Cavern. Now, you've walked down that little passage to get down here. Before we talk any more about what you're seeing down here, I just want you to know that that passage is just a very tiny part of a gigantic 5-mile-long fault line in the valley. It's known as the Great Rake. The Great Rake goes off for another 2 miles in that direction and another 3 miles in that direction. And that massive crack in the valley would have been formed by a volcanic eruption around 180 million years ago. So this happened right after the Brexit referendum, if anyone can remember back that far in time. You need to imagine as well that when those cracks got torn up into the rock by the volcanoes, they got filled up with mineral-rich waters, and those minerals got trapped inside the rock, and over time they hardened to form some of the shiny crystals that you'll see on the tour. You will notice coming through this cavern that the rock down here will often shimmer and sparkle like there's diamonds inside the rock. But trust me, there are no diamonds down here, I've double checked. That shiny stuff is a very common mineral known as calcite. Now, I want you all to see what happens when this bit of calcite reacts with light. There you go. So you can see how the light goes right through the calcite. It's really, really translucent. That's why you'll see it glittering in the rock. You will have actually eaten this stuff if you've ever taken paracetamol. So if my constant droning on gives you a nasty migraine, just take a deep bite anywhere into the rock. And you won't have a headache anymore, will you? You'll have too much of a toothache to keep you distracted. And now you know how I qualified as a GP before being struck off.
You'll see him.
Right, I'll come back up then. Can you carry on?
Wow! What is it? What's green? Oh, that, the moss. Why is it lighter? Because they don't like the way that we're going. No, it's not on my head, it's being funny. Very old money. Yeah. How old are you?
66.
At least 6. 89. Well, that is a big number. 89 million. 100,000, 6 million. 400.
Grabe yung lugar nito. Yung mga lugar natin na pinuntahan dati sa isang kuweba dun sa Virginia. Parang nasa 1.2 kilometer yun yung ano niya, yung haba. Ganda ng kuweba to.
I don't want to touch it anymore because it's going to try
It's not going to go in, you're not going to eat it though, are you? And it's not going to go through your skin, so you can touch it. See, when you go slowly, it makes it so much harder.
I just think you bite some more in half.
Well, I think that's not good. You're going to be a minor.
Tubig pala. Ay, sa water. Tama natin ko na. Lagi na to. It's a long cave. It's a long walk kind of cave. Malamang dumaan dito yung tubig dati. Yung water, flow of water. That's why they form.
Are you at the back, sir? No one behind you?
Okay, I'm just coming.
So then, when you look down in that direction, it's not very difficult to see where our lighting budget ran out, is it? Lamps and whatnot. We've now finished our journey to the Pipe Vein, and we are standing in what we like to call the Great Chamber. You can't see a lot of it down there, it is very dark, but I will be putting a great big light show on in a few minutes' time. To give you a sense of its scale, the Great Chamber is over 150 feet long, it's over 90 feet high, and we are currently around 130 feet underground. So you probably won't be able to get a phone signal down here, sad to say. I'm afraid you're stuck here with me and my sparkling personality. How's that for a happy thought? So it's only taken us a few minutes to get through what would have been over 60 years worth of hard labour for the miners. They were only advancing through the pipe vein at a rate of 2 inches a day. Really slow grinding work. There also would have been children working in there. As soon as you were 5 or 6 years old, that was the legal age to get put to work in this kind of environment. environment. So it's like I'm always telling people, yes, there were kids working down here, because at the end of the day, if you think about it, they were miners. Just giving myself a headache with these. Right. So you might have noticed in the pipe vein that the rock was covered in scratch marks from the pickaxes. But if you look at the rock in here, I bet you won't find a single pit mark in the whole place. In fact, you can see right there where the pickaxe marks end. And at that point, the rock undergoes a very sudden change in the appearance. The Great Chamber was made entirely by water. 10,000 years ago, the Ice Age was coming to an end, so there was lots of water coming down from the melting glaciers. That water was responsible for carving this giant chamber into the hillside. And you need to imagine that it got filled in with sand and soil that got washed down from the top. But there would have been bits of galena mixed in with it as well. It was found again in 1699. The man who discovered it was named John Tinker. Just like everyone else living around here, he knew there was lead under these hills. So he dug a mine shaft through the rock. That is where he was eventually able to breach into the chamber. I don't know why some people giggle when I say this, but that is the bottom of John Tinker's 100-foot shaft. He will come down that mine shaft with a bucket and spade, he would shovel up the sand and take it back to the top, where he would sort through it to find those shiny pieces of lead ore which he would sell, and he was able to empty this chamber all by himself. It only took him 6 years to do that. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do at this point is switch the lights off to recreate how dark you would have found it down here. They don't put this part in the marketing campaigns, do they? Now, the lights at the back of the chamber are going to stay on if any of you want to hang back where there will be a bit of light throughout proceedings. If you want to get a decent view of the light show, that I'm going to put on now, you just need to be somewhere where you can at least see into this dark area. So if you're comfortable doing so, you can move down a little bit. That's it, nice and cool. You can stop there, guys, that's far enough. So you'll agree it would have been way too dark to get any work done down here. That's why Mr. Tinker had to bring candles down to light the way. 4 candles. There's a 2 Ronnies gag in that, if anyone can appreciate the reference. And also forks, tins of peas and so forth. Wander around, go as far as the chain, take lots of photos, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have in the meantime.
So amazing.
Yeah, look, so nice.
Come, let's have a bit.
Wait.
What?
I could just stand in the corner.
Okay, I better stay here with her. So now you want to go with Daddy?
No.
When you're standing down on this side of the chamber, if I shine my torch up there, you can actually see the original entry point for the water that carved out the Great Chamber 10,000 years ago. As you can see, it's just sealed over with a bit of cardboard painted to look like concrete. One of our 50-year maintenance projects.
I went down to the photo, I don't know where that.
Ang ganda dito sa loob.
English.
Nakakatakot.
English.
Oh, this cave is amazing. Illegal rave in the cave here. Illegal rave in the cave.
Yes, other people are.
into VR as well.
Oh, I've got a mark on my right.
Rock formations in this chamber, guys. If you look over there by the chandelier, you can see that it's actually being held up by an elephant. The elephant's holding the chandelier up in his trunk, with his mouth open, and his feet down. So that's blocking the elephant, but normally I don't point out the great big elephant in the room. You've got a great big geode of calcite crystals. You only hear A flat minor and nothing more. It's awful, isn't it? I should state we're strictly no refund business at the Heights of Abraham. Yeah. You can see all the blood and hair attached to it, but if you'd rather not bang your head, just mind how you go. Make sure you're using up all the available space, guys, including at the back. You'll still be able to see everything there isn't there. So we've had a bit of Swedish politics on this tour. How about a bit of celebrity trivia? Anyone heard of Rick Astley, the singer? Yeah. Rick Astley, you might be interested to know, he owns a house here in Matlock, Bath. He bought it a few years ago. One year we found out that he drove a Volkswagen up, so naturally we asked him to come borrow it. But Rick said, no, I'm never going to give you up. And if you think about it, that triggered the infamous Rick Astley paradox, because by not giving us up, he let us down. Yeah, that gag makes everyone want to run around and desert me. Back to the matter at hand now. You can see over there the back of the Great Chamber, that's where we were earlier. This is the antechamber, it's the last place we're going to see on the tour. So the great news for all of you is that you won't need to put up with me for very much longer. You can cheer when I say that, I won't be offended. There's some writing up there on the wall, if any of you have noticed that. Now, that is something known as a miner's plaque or a miner's journal. and it basically works like a stamp of ownership. That's how they used to stake their claim to the chamber, along with any lead deposits that would have been up for grabs. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner the date 1705. So we know they began mining for lead in here 318 years ago. And you've also got the initials of the very first people that would have been working here at the time. So it tells you a nice little story. I won't go through the whole thing, I'll just give you a couple of examples. In that box there, you've got 2 sets of initials instead of 1. Now those were the Fern brothers. Isaiah and Mordecai Fern lived in the village of Bonsall over the hill. They worked down here for most of their lives, and believe it or not, they lived to be 98 and 103. That was back in the 18th century. Mordecai didn't retire till he was 78, and there's even a rumour that his brother Isaiah was able to outlive 16 wives. So I just want you all to take a moment to imagine what it would be like to be married 16 times. That might have kept Isaiah young, or it might have helped to finish him off, depending on where you are on the fence. And you need to imagine that back in 1705, that thing would have been level with their ankles. So we can use it as a marker, showing how much deeper underground they dug in their search for lead. Now if you'd like to turn your attention over there to that very slimy looking rock. I really hope that nobody has touched that rock. I'm always warning people, whatever you do, for the love of God, don't go anywhere near that slimy rock, because that is the overflow from the gents' toilets. So if any of you have been giving that rock a full body massage and you now need to amputate your fingers, you know who you are. But if any of you have at least ever been in a cavern before, you might be wondering, off the top of your head, why you haven't seen any stalactites down here. You know, stalactites are those spiky things that you often find growing down from cave ceilings. And when they grow up from the ground, they're known as stalagmites. The simple reason why there are no stalactites down here is because it's too dry. Stalactites are made out of a mineral that needs water in order to form. But somewhere over our heads this entire time, we've been standing under a layer of clay, volcanic clay, which acts as a natural shield stopping the water getting through. And this hole in the ceiling isn't naturally made either. That would have been carved out by the miners as a ventilation shaft, give them some fresh air while they were hard at work down here. And as you can see, there is something coming down from the cafe toilets, but it's not a good idea to dwell on what that liquid might be, especially if you come into contact with it. Whatever it might be, it's coming down much too quickly for a stalactite to form, so that slimy rock is what we end up with instead. That is the closest thing to a stalactite you'll find down here, and it's known as a flowstone. The miners didn't call it a flowstone though. They like to refer to it as lick that snot rock. It can have a similar effect to magic mushrooms, so I've been told. Although some people just take that as an invitation. They get up to in their personal lives.
Thanks everyone. Thank you. Thank you.